series of numbers. When we did further research, those series of numbers related to the names that you are given as a baby.
Okay, well, somebody raised a question before, while we were on break. Does that mean that everybody that's named Sanyya Gardez will have a very similar life?
They will have a number of things. They will firstly have a very similar personality, and the same type of events will happen at the same ages, different only by degree. Now, that does happen. There's many examples of that. You've had ladies with the same name who are unrelated giving birth to babies in hospital on the same day. I myself was interviewed by a lady on radio, and she said that exactly the same question arose, and I said, why do you ask that? She said she applied for equity, and her name was Susan Elizabeth Mathis, and she applied in that name, and it was already taken. That morning her letter arrived, another letter arrived, and the other lady got the name for equity, and she had to take Susie Mathis. And Susie Mathis was a member of the Paper Dolls pop group. Now, the odds against two people with the same name applying for equity on the same day is astounding.
Joining me on the panel, along with Lawrence, is Pandit Ravi Bhushan and Prakash, your astrologer. What do you think about what Lawrence is saying, that your name changes your
name
destiny?
is important, no doubt about it, but you have to match you have to create a compatibility between your birth chart, date of birth, then name, not on its name on its own, not at all.
Well,
you have to have for example, every name signifies one particular number.
Right.
If that number represents a particular planet, if that planet in the birth chart is busted, then overall situation is not very good. We have to create a compatibility between your name, date of birth, and your birth chart. You can't change your date of birth.
Well, that's what Lawrence is saying. You can't change your date of birth, but you can change your name.
That's the only thing you can change. So you have to create a compatibility between your birth chart and name, between your date of birth and your name. Then you create a harmony between these two.
Panditji, do you believe that some names are luckier than other names?
Yeah, yes, we believe the astrology, but all the names actually come to with the birth time and birth date, because that's the birth time and birth date joined with the nakshatra. Nakshatra means the nature.
Okay.
So all the name made by nature. And so in this time, so many people give us the ordinary name, but actually astrology gives the special name with the nakshatra. So that nakshatra nobody can change. With that nakshatra come to the moon, and moon working quarter to 2 days.
Well, Lawrence is saying that if you if you change your name, you can change the events that are going to happen in your life. So if somebody came to you, Prakash, or you, Panditji, and said, I've been having this really horrible life. I'm in and out of, bad relationships, and I have these issues. Would you suggest that a name change could possibly help them?
But first look at the birth chart, then look at the date of birth, then we look at the name. We want to create, there's no conflict between the name and the date of birth. There should not be any conflict between the name and the birth chart. Then we suggest if there's a conflict between the date of birth and the name, or conflict between the name and the birth chart, then we offer a change in the name. But as my brother Ravi said, all the names come from the nakshatra. Nakshatra gives you the alphabet.
Yeah, alphabet.
Alphabet,
yeah,
not the whole name. For example, nakshatra will give you R, I, U, J,
so
something like
does
that.
the nakshatra say that certain letters are better than other letters?
Yeah, nakshatra represent the moon, the position of the moon at that particular planet. At that time, nakshatra gives you the first name, the first alphabet. For example, your name is Sanyya, so it starts from S. My name is Prakash, start from P. Yes.
Lawrence, do you think, you have obviously been doing this for years. Has anybody ever come to you and said, that this hasn't worked for them, that a name change hasn't done what it was supposed to do?
No, they haven't, Sanyya. And I've got to state that I disagree with a little bit of what these people are telling you, because basically, what are they going to do if the birth chart says that they are down to have an extremely negative life? Because you cannot give a name that's in harmony with that. You have to give something that will contradict it or add the necessary balance. If it's going to add the balance, will it then override the birth chart? Now, my experience is that the name and the date of birth in almost every person I come across are in harmony. Now, that comes from 3 years' work on the local radio stations where my wife does astrology, I did names. Whoever got a piece of little to say. So my experience shows that names and dates of birth are in harmony for most people, whether they're positive or negative. But as the people rightly say, you can only change your name. I do not understand the word nakshatra that they're coming from, where they're getting first letters when they're giving people's names. I don't understand that system at all, and perhaps they'd like to go into that.
Would you like to go into
Yes,
that? I mean, what does your first letter dictate about your life?
Actually, can we change the name when it's used to something like a marriage? On the marriage time you can change the name, and business time, work time you can change the name. Business name you can.
Yeah, because I have heard of actually couples that are getting married. The wife might change not only their last name but their first name as well.
That's we can get, because that's the different matter. He's going to match the kundli, and that's looking the gun, varna, gana. So many things we need to match in there. But if it is some point was less, we can complete with that point with that different name. So we can match name to name, because it's that the bride name was different and groom name was different. We can match that name is together, but we can't match all to gun.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Changing the name is creating a balance between the moon signs of the two people. Yes, of course. But when we say numerology is itself different, but giving a name according to nakshatra from the constellation is very different as compared to numerology. But numerology is which defines you what this name significance, what's the name of this particular significance. For example, if my name is Prakash, what's the significance of Prakash itself in numerological world, and how that is related according to astrology with my birth chart. That's very, very important. But my friend saying is getting a combination or harmony between the name and the date of birth is extremely important. Of course, name does affect, but end of the day you have to make a combination, harmony between the name and the date of birth, name and the birth chart.
Well, like Lawrence said, and Lawrence, just to clarify, it's not numerology that you're doing. Numerology is a whole different ballgame, is it not?
I researched numerology for about 18 months when I came across the system of name analysis. And numerology, I have to say, I disagree with most of numerology, the way they work, the definitions that they use. They do not seem to be logical or practical, and numerologists have great difficulty changing my clients' names. I tend to get people who've already seen a numerologist, they've given them a name some 10, 15 years ago, and their lives have been miserable. I then change their names to what I suggest, or what this system of name analysis suggests, and their lives improve. And I've used the system to get people jobs, to cure illnesses, to get them married, to get all sorts of better conditions around them.
So, Lawrence, somebody could come to you who's been struggling, say, with their career or with, I don't know, alcohol addiction. They can come to you and you can work with them to give them a name that's going to resolve that issue?
In most cases, I can. But you see, what I would ask the other people there is, what would they do with a gentleman or a lady from Africa who had no idea of their date of birth? Many children in Africa are born in the bush. They take up to 4 years to trek to a station where they can record the birth. And of course, they've no idea of how long it's taken. I've had men here who didn't even know the year they were born, never mind the day and the month and the time.
But we do Prashan Kundli for that. According to Indian astrology, that's a question Kundli. We do have a solution for that, my dear friend.
What is the solution to that,
well,
though? If you don't know what...
Prashan Kundli, if you haven't got the date of birth, you can still create a chart according to the question. That instantaneous time you find the lagna and the graphical representation of planets at that particular time. We can answer your question at that particular time. First 3 questions what you have in your mind. You don't need a date of birth.
You don't need a date of birth.
You don't need a date of birth at all.
Actually, date of birth we need for the life circle, but you can do the astrology different date, different date too. Because if you start the work 2 days, and so you can make the work only from the 2 days. What time you start this, like you can see that India was independent days 15th of August, that time. So this is made that's Kundli. That time, that day, that time, that year is come to flag in this country. So that's the start come from.
Prashan Kundli is a very different phenomena. It's very, very vast. It's very, very in depth. Yes.
And some people